Well. Look who it is. My favorite people. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Having a little bit of a later show tonight. We had a few things going on today. That's why I try to tell people to have the notifications on, because I honestly I never know when I'm going to go live. I really don't. It's, life happens. Real life happens sometimes. But I think that I have a pretty good live show lined up for y'all. I have several things I want to talk about. As usual, I'm going to recap the pre-recorded video that I did earlier today, get y'all's take on that, see what you think about that. And then we'll talk about the football games upcoming, some surprises, even, the conferences and how many teams are ranked in each conference. I'm a little surprised. The Pac-12 is looking really, really good. Oh, yeah, and by the way, if something seems a little bit off right now, well, I decided to try a new camera angle. And the reason I did that is because the other camera angle, I don't have my shelving up yet, so all the mini helmets are on the same level. So whenever the camera's lower, you can't really see all them. So I was like, man, how can I get, well, maybe not all of them, but as many mini helmets in the shot visible, and you could actually tell what they are. Oh yeah, let's raise it up and give a bird's eye view. So y'all give me a thumbs up if you like this view. We can change it up again, but I think I want to do it for this video. I think you can see pretty much all of them fairly clearly. I know there's a couple that are fuzzy over there, but for the most part, you can tell who they are, right? And that's all that matters. So I like this angle. We'll mess with it. We'll play around with it and figure out the exact right camera angle that we want to use. And another thing, see, here's the thing about YouTube, especially whenever you have a college football show, live show, channel, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of them out there, okay? We all know that. I'm subscribed to probably at least 20, maybe 30 of them. Same with you guys, I'm sure. So there's stuff that you have to do differently to make yourself stand out. You can't just blend in the crowd and hopefully wave your hand, hey, look at me over here. No, you have to do things differently, get people's attention, and make people interested, entertained. That's what this is about. That's why I've always made no bones about it. I am not worried about being right or wrong. That is not my job. If you wanted that, watch ESPN. They're the ones that are worried about being right and wrong. Here at Gone and Blued, I'm more focused on giving you guys a good show, entertaining you. If I get you, not thinking about your troubles, whatever it is, stresses in life, some of them big, some of them small, just for a short time, then I've done my job. That's my focus. I'm not worried about right or wrong. And I don't take myself too seriously. Because here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. If you take yourself too seriously, you're going to miss out on a lot of fun in life because you're scared it's going to make you look silly. Don't be scared to look silly, okay? Looking silly is fun. I promise. I do it all the time. Anyways, enough about myself. How's everybody doing? I know it's Super Tuesday. I call it Super Tuesday. I don't know. I don't know. Sounds right. I know it's not technically a Super Tuesday, but I like the sound of it. All right. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. I know a lot of y'all do it automatically, but I like to remind people because hitting the like button is very important. It's not telling me that you like me or that you like this video. You're helping the video because the more likes a video gets, the more it hits the YouTube algorithm and it gets suggested more. More people see it and click on it, and boom, that's how you grow your audience. You're not just helping me, you're helping yourself too, because more people for you to talk trash to in the comments section. So there you go. Any questions, comments, troll attempts? You want to make fun of me? You want to make fun of another team? Maybe your rival? Or you want to pound your chest a little bit? You want to brag about your team? Best way to get my attention is the super chat button. It's that little dollar sign. I think they have a heart around it now. Last time I checked, I think they have a heart around it. I guess that's a sign of gratitude, which we are thankful. Anyways, it's that little dollar sign, I think with the heart around it. Underneath the comment section, anything that you put into that super chat, we will throw it on the screen. I will read it. Thank you. And if it's a question, I'll try to answer it to my best ability. But like I said, not worried about being right or wrong. If it's a comment, I'll address it and all that good stuff. And it's a great way to support any of these channels, not just my channel, but any channel, because this is what we do full time. This is my job to entertain you. So any donation or support in that respect, greatly, greatly appreciated. That's what keeps these shows on the air, so we can entertain you. All right, guys. How many watched my video earlier today? How many? Yeah, it was another conference realignment video. Golden Blue, dude, what are you doing, man? This is regular season's going on. Yeah, did you not see the other 20 videos that I put out this week? I sprinkle in like one conference video every week, and all of a sudden, Golden Blue, dude, what's wrong with you? You're not talking about the regular season. Yes, I am. A lot. Every day. But every once in a while, I got to sprinkle in one of those conference realignment videos because I'm not going to lie, guys, a little bit obsessed with it. I'm a little bit obsessed. I know that I definitely 100% have over 100 conference realignment videos. I haven't counted them exactly, but trust me, well over 100. So hopefully I've covered every stinking scenario that you can come up with. But, if there is a scenario that I've missed, that's probably the one that's going to happen. That's just my luck. The one scenario that I do not cover is going to be the one that happened. What I talked about today, real briefly, then we'll move on. What I talked about today is, well, the Big 12 and a lot of sources were talking about how they wanted the four corners, right? Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado. Right off the bat, I have a problem with that. I don't think they should get Colorado. Colorado is not a very good brand right now. Their fan base is not that big. Their TV viewership, not that good. I would replace Colorado with Washington State. But I get the selling point. Four corners. It's a nice, novelty sale right there. Dadgummit, stupid arrow. There we go. It's a nice novelty concept, and it has a nice ring to it. But if you want to make the most money, you got to go with Washington State. And I wouldn't have said that probably a couple months ago because I thought like everybody else. I thought, Washington State, they don't have a big fan base. Colorado, by a mile. I mean, they're near Denver. My goodness, that's one of the biggest cities in the nation. Number one, Denver is a pro sport city. Pro sport city. Colorado doesn't get a lot of support from the city of Denver, okay? And another thing is, I didn't realize how big Washington State's fan base is. Top 20. I'm being serious. Bigger than West Virginia's fan base. Yeah, bigger than our fan base. So that's why I would swap those two. All right, so we've done that for a while, right? But all of a sudden, it just fell apart. We haven't heard anything. And now I'm hearing from a lot of sources that it's absolutely not going to happen. Wait a minute. What happened? The only thing that makes sense to me, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, is maybe the Big 12 knows something about the ACC grant of rights. What do I mean by that? Well, supposedly it's airtight, locked in till 2036, can't break them. But if they get 8 members to vote to dissolve, that voids the grant of rights. So maybe, I'm not saying this is, facts, maybe, just maybe, the Big 12 knows that there are 8 teams in the ACC, at least, maybe more, that are going to vote to dissolve, and poof, there goes the ACC. So if you're the Big 12, would you rather have Utah, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, or perhaps, you're not getting Clemson, Virginia, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, or even Miami, but you will probably get Louisville, Pitt, Syracuse, maybe an NC State. When you're making a decision, it's always good to have choices. So even if they do eventually go with Utah, Arizona, Arizona State, and Colorado, you got to weigh them choices. You got to see what's best for the conference. And in my opinion, probably because my team is on the east side of the conference, West Virginia, I think the best decision for the Big 12 would be to get those 4 brands from the ACC. All right? Having said that, everything that I just said is hearsay. Every single bit of it, except for the fact that the Big 12 has not invited those 4 teams yet. And that's what made me raise my eyebrow. K-Do, the Kansas fans are starting to pop out, and they're popping out here on Golden Blue, and we do appreciate you. And I know I'm going to see a lot more of you whenever basketball season rolls around, but it's really nice to see Kansas fans during the football season. Really, really nice. K-Do, thank you for the $10 donation. Says, good evening, Golden Blue Dude. This has been an awesome start to the season for Kansas. Absolutely. Best start since what, 2008, 2009? It's very possible Kansas could lose the remaining games this season. There is one thing for sure. There is finally hope on Saturday in Kansas. Kansas needs to win one more game to be bowl eligible. Think about that for a minute, people. One more game. My gosh. Okay, let's say that they have played the softest part of their schedule. Is there any beatable teams on the schedule? Oklahoma's terrible. I know that's a road game. They're terrible. You get Texas at home again. They look better. Kansas State. I'm not sure if that's home or road. They could be tough. Let's see. You get TCU this week. It's at home. I like your chances against TCU. Look. TCU looked amazing against Oklahoma, but that doesn't mean that they're actually amazing. Oklahoma is playing like absolute garbage. So, yes, play your A game, but don't be intimidated by TCU. Do not be intimidated. What I've seen from Kansas's offense is hard to defend. And I can tell that Kansas is mentally tough. Because they just played a bad game against Iowa State. That was probably Kansas's worst game of the year so far. And they won. That's what mentally tough teams do. Even on their bad days, they still find a way to win. And on Saturday, the defense willed this team to a victory. I mean, yeah, it took an Iowa State missed field goal there at the end. Okay. A lot of games take that. Or a made field goal or a missed touchdown pass. You know, there's little things that happen. It's part of the game. Kansas won a football game in spite of having a bad game, a bad performance by their offense. Their defense did pretty good. Their offense just could not find the end zone, but they found it twice, and that was good enough because the defense held up. So I like Kansas's chances of getting to a bowl. I mean, one more game, guys. That is it. You win on Saturday, you're going bowling. How about that? First time in like 15 years since Kansas has been to a bowl. That is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Lance Leipold, I hope he stays at Kansas, but at the same time, I know that he's too good to stay at that level. And no offense to Kansas fans. I mean, if we were talking about basketball, then you're, one of the best jobs out there. But we're talking football, and let's be honest, Kansas is not one of the best jobs out there. So hopefully you guys can hang on to him for at least another couple years before he takes off. And I hope y'all, milk that cow. Milk it for what it's worth. Win yourself a Big 12 championship while you can. Joseph, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, what's happening, man? I was talking to KD there in the chat. I was telling him I was really proud of Kansas and rooting for him every week, man. Cheering for Kansas every single week.
I'm absolutely. If I can't root for West Virginia, I'm rooting for Kansas right now for sure, without a doubt.
I'm gonna push back a little bit here. I mean, I was saying that my new name is no more Joy Foster. It is FNB, and you can make the F whatever you want to, but you know what the NB is Neil Brown, right? Mm-hmm. I've sat and thought about it and decided against that. I'm gonna keep supporting Neil Brown, and
fair enough.
Hear me out, okay? So, if you had a coach in his first 2 years that went 5-17, would you think he was a great coach?
Nope.
Nope, not at all. Right. How about this? If you had a coach that signed a 6-year contract, okay, and in his 6 years, he went 24, 40, and 2. And in his last year, his 6th year, he went 2-8-1. Would you keep him on as a coach?
Repeat those first numbers again.
He went 24, 40, and 2 in 6 years.
No.
And his final year of his contract, his 6th year, he went 2-8-1. Would you have kept him as a coach?
No.
But yet, this coach here I'm talking about was re-signed and given an extension on his contract. You don't have any idea who that coach was?
Probably a really, really good coach.
That coach was Frank Beamer at Virginia Tech.
Ah, yes.
He went 24, 40, and 1 in his first 6 years. In his 6th year there, he went 2-8-1, which is horrible. And they re-signed him as a coach. And he never had another losing season after that. That was his final losing season.
And he took over at Virginia Tech at one of their low points, like really, really low.
Right.
And West Virginia is at one of their lowest points since the Frank Signetti years. That's like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 50.
Yeah. But I was looking at it, and Neil Brown kind of took over a similar situation at West Virginia. He didn't take over. I mean, we wasn't in sanctions or anything, but our numbers were down. Our scholarships were down. We had been hitting the transfer portal pretty hard under Dana Holgerson. We didn't have.
Well, you see what he's doing in Houston already.
Yeah. We didn't have the numbers. So really, if you look at it, he really did have he might as well have had sanctions on him when he came in, Neil Brown, honestly.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna give him a couple more years. I'm gonna see what he can do because I trust him as a coach. Ooh. And I know the players like him, so I'm gonna see what he can do.
I got you. And the crazy thing, I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's still taking a massive, massive risk. And we kind of live in a different era of college football. Now it's what have you done for me lately? And, instant, please people instantly. But I'm kind of back and forth on that as well. And obviously Shane Lyons sees something that the rest of us don't. I mean, Shane Lyons is supporting him more than ever. Not just the same, but he's bumping up his support. So he sees something. I would like to say, and they do know more than me, and we should leave it up to them. But man, we got like what we're seeing on the field is I don't even know. We have the talent, we have the coaches, but the players are just not prepared. Is the best word I can. Yeah. We are beating ourselves.
I'm not
the
happy
teams
with
that we play are not beating us.
I'm not happy with.
They're not. I mean, you look at the Pitt game. It's a bad coaching decision on 4th and 6 inches. Now he'll go on any 4th down put in front of him. I guess he learned his lesson, but 4th and 6 inches, you should have done it back then. Better field position, all that stuff. But I know he played the numbers. Hopefully he's getting out of that now. So a bad coaching decision. Wide receivers dropping the ball all over the place. Stupid penalties. And then, of course, the pick 6 off a deflected pass. And Bryce Ford Wheaton was having an amazing game, so I felt bad for him. So we beat ourselves in that one. Kansas in Morgantown. Again, our offense played amazing. We put up over 40 points, took them to overtime, even though they had a 2-touchdown lead over us there for the longest while. A lot of people do forget about that. Kansas was beating us by 2 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. We came back and tied it, sent it to overtime. And then, unfortunate pick 6 by JT Daniels. But the thing is, our defense looked lost. And you go back to the Texas game. The first half is when Texas beat us. They beat us 28-7 in the first half. In the second half, West Virginia beat Texas 13-10. But in the first half, dropped passes, stupid penalties, miscommunications, blown coverages. It was fixed at halftime, but the hole was too deep. So my only concern is the hole too deep?
Well, I don't think. Here's what I don't like about the team. Then you hit it on the head. That is the penalties. So it seems like every time we get down inside the 10-yard line, we start doing false starts. We could drive the whole length of the field. We get down there. We get down to the 3-yard line.
We're anxious when we get down there in scoring position. Yep.
Yeah, like 3 times this year we've been inside the 5, and had false starts. And then we always
You
follow
know
that
what
false
else
start
is?
up.
You know what
with
else is
PAC.
making me mad, Joey? There is one thing that I do not understand. They need to yank Reese Smith by the helmet, pull him to the sideline, kicking and screaming. I don't care. If your feet is moving or are moving, don't catch the punt. The only time you fair catch a punt or catch a punt at all is you're positioned, you're ready, you're balanced, field it. This dude is trying to field punts. And how many has he muffed already? Like 3? Stop fielding punts and kicks if you're running around. Let it go. Bad field
Well, you
position
seen who
is
they put
better
in last
than
game.
turning the ball over. Stop doing that.
Well, they put Preston Fox in at the end of the Texas game to catch punts, remember?
Right.
So maybe they're making a change
fix
there.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like that.
By the way, I did make
like
a video on the Neil Brown situation on, I don't like firing coaches in the middle of the season. So I am in favor of at least waiting until the end of the season, see what we look like there. If we go 7-5, okay, give them another year. But then I have my list of coaches. So that's in the process of editing. I put out the conference realignment video up first, but I made another one. I just didn't have time to put it out. So I got that one ready for tomorrow. So today, something very surprising whenever I saw the top 25 there, Joseph. The SEC, of course, they have the most ranked teams at 7. They have number 1, Alabama, number 2, Georgia, number 8, Tennessee, number 9, Ole Miss, number 13, Kentucky, number 23, Mississippi State, and number 25, LSU. In my opinion, LSU should not be ranked, but that's neither here nor there. Number 2, as far as number of ranked teams, the PAC freaking 12. 5 ranked teams. Number 6, USC. Number 11, Utah. Number 12, Oregon. Number 18, UCLA. And number 21, Washington State. The Pac-12 might be in the best position they've been in 4 or 5 years to make the playoffs. Do you think that they can pull through and get it done this year? Or do you think that they're going to cannibalize themselves again?
I believe they're going to cannibalize themselves again. I think they're going to start beating up on each other here real soon. The only team I see out there that has a strong possibility would be if Utah can run the table, or if USC can run the table, or maybe just have one loss.
Right.
I just don't. I don't see anybody else winning the PAC right now. Now I do think
the one thing is Utah still has to play USC, so they're going to have a head-to-head.
Right.
And now this week they go on the road to number 18 UCLA, and Utah's only favored by 4.5. That's going to be a tougher game than people thought. Everybody thought, including myself, that Washington was going to beat UCLA by a couple of touchdowns. Do you think UCLA the fan base starts having faith in their team and starts to show up? I mean, my gosh, what does UCLA have to do to get their fans to show up?
Yeah, I know. I don't understand that. I mean, that stadium should have been absolutely packed the other night and full of fans. There shouldn't have been an empty seat in the house.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you have the number 15 team in the country in your house, undefeated versus undefeated.
Well, unless they thought, okay, UCLA don't have a chance to win this game, they're not going to win. Like the rest of the nation thought too.
You can't be like that, though.
No, you can't. You can't. But
there's been games that we thought that about West Virginia, and we still packed the house, and we pulled some upsets by doing that.
Right. I guess we maybe have more faith in our team than they do. I don't know. But if you look at the new Big 12, we would be number 2 as far as ranked teams. Do you know that? If you look at the new Big 12. So if you include BYU, Cincinnati, and those teams, we would be the second most. Pac-12 has 5. We would have 6, I think.
That's right. Cincinnati and BYU would be in there. Yep, you're right.
Yeah. So
good point. Because Independent 1, BYU number 16, AAC 1, number 24, Cincinnati. Both future Big 12. Good point. And losing Oklahoma and Texas wouldn't hurt our current numbers either, because neither one of those teams are ranked.
One's ranked. Right. Neither one's ranked. So
yeah. And here's another surprising thing. The Big Ten only has 3. Now, all 3 of them are in the top 10. Number 3, Ohio State. Number 4, Michigan. Number 10, Penn State. I think they're going divisionless next year, I think is what I heard. Maybe it's a year after. I'm not sure. But past time, the West keeps dropping the ball. I know that was the smartest decision as far as splitting it. It made sense, West and East, just like a lot of conferences do. Some do North and South or whatever. But it made sense. I mean, how else were they supposed to divide the conference? And the West is just absolutely horrific. The only ranked team that played
Minnesota was the best one.
Yeah, the only ranked team was Minnesota, and they went down to Purdue. It's like the West capitalizes each other, and then the East gets the leftovers, and 3 top 10 teams in one division, but that's also in the entire conference. So let's see. In the SEC East, they have Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, 3. In the SEC West, Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, which I don't think LSU should be ranked just yet. So they have 4. So the SEC West does have the most with 4, but the Big Ten East has 3. Problem is, Big Ten West doesn't have any. Wisconsin just fired their head coach, even though he's done good at Wisconsin, just not playoff, win Big Ten championships consistently. I really don't know what their standard is over there, but it must be really, really high, because I looked at his winning percentage over there. It's like 73%. That's pretty good. But yeah, they got to stop, dropping the ball and losing games that they shouldn't lose. That's the problem with Minnesota should not have lost to Purdue at home. That should not have happened.
Now, when they'll drop divisions, I believe when USC comes in, and I think they'll drop the divisions in. I don't know if we're going to drop them next year or not. USC and them are going in what, 24?
Well, no, the ACC is.
Yeah, and the Pac-12's already dropped them, so
right.
So I'm like you, Minnesota. I mean, I never expected them to lose to Purdue last week, and they did. They were the best team in the West, and probably still are the best team in the West, to be honest. But I don't understand the West at all. Well, Wisconsin should be the power over there in the West. They really should.
Right.
And they've been down the last couple of years, not winning. They can't seem to win the big games or something.
I agree with that. So I did an exercise earlier today, strictly hearsay, just to see how it turned out. So, a lot of conference realignment going on and a lot of lopsided conferences, and it looks like the Pac-12 is going to die, and the Big 12 could eventually look like a group of 5 because they could lose Power 5 members and just keep backfilling with group of 5. So I thought, I'm going to take all the teams in the Power 5 right now and include BYU, Cincinnati, and Houston. That way it's all even. And I came up with 3 conferences. And so I was sitting here thinking, I was like, what's the best way to divide this? Should I do West, Central, East, or North, Central, South? I went with North, Central, South. And I actually think this turned out pretty good. So this is strictly geography based. It's never going to happen because a lot of these teams are either not in the same conference or in another conference. You know what I'm saying? So it's not going to happen. But it turned out a lot better than I thought it would, because my fear was, well, if I do this, one conference is just going to be totally weak, and one of the other conferences is just going to be supreme. That's not how it worked out, Joseph. That is not how it worked out. So let's start with the North. Now, these three conferences, North, Central, and South, and each conference has 23 members. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Here's the North. Boston College, and remember, this is coast to coast, all right? So think north, coast to coast. All right, Boston College, Syracuse, Washington, Oregon, Washington State, Oregon State, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Iowa State, Purdue, Penn State, Pitt, Northwestern, Notre Dame, West Virginia, Ohio State, Rutgers, Maryland, Illinois, and Indiana. It's not bad, right?
No, that's not bad. That sounds like a pretty strong conference.
And it's got its weaknesses. It's got 2 really good teams from the Pac-12, Oregon and Washington, arguably 2 of the best brands besides USC. And it's got a lot of powerhouses from the Big Ten. That's what really helps it, in my opinion. All right, let's move on to the Central. This was the division that I was kind of worried about because In the Big Ten, you have some powerhouses. And then, of course, in the SEC, you have some powerhouses. Wasn't so sure about the Central, but the way that it worked out, it actually pulled some teams pretty much out of every conference as well. So for the Central, your 23 teams are Wake Forest, Duke, Cal. Not a good start. Stanford, Utah, BYU, Kansas, Kansas State, Missouri, Kentucky, Colorado, Tennessee, Nebraska, NC State, North Carolina, Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Arkansas, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Louisville, and Cincinnati. I still think North is a little bit stronger. What do you think?
Yeah, I think North's a lot stronger than that conference, but that still sounds like a pretty good conference.
Right. Okay. So here's the South. South Carolina, UCF, UCLA, Arizona, Arizona State, Houston, TCU, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, LSU, Miami, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Texas, Baylor, Florida, USC, Ole Miss, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Alabama. Now,
yeah,
off the top of your head,
conference.
What? No, that's what I thought too. But that's because we've been brainwashed that the SEC is the best top to bottom. But really, okay, out of these teams, okay, UCLA is having a good year. But usually, how good is UCLA? Not that great.
Not
Texas A&M.
Right.
Texas A&M has the most talent out of any team, and yet they can't get more than 8 wins. LSU, good one year, terrible another year. Miami, they're not back yet. Florida State, trying to get back, not really. Georgia, okay, there you go. Georgia, that's a great one. Clemson, that's another great one. Texas, great brand, not doing good though. Baylor, they're okay, but they just fell out of the rankings. Florida, not that good. USC, third really good team. Ole Miss, top 10, but I think they're a little overrated. Auburn, terrible. Mississippi State, just got ranked, but I wouldn't put them as a pillar right now. And Alabama, 5 really, really strong teams right now. So if you really boil it down, it's not as much as you think as when you first hear the names. And that's the point I'm trying to make. It's name recognition, not actually how good they are, how strong their brands, et cetera, et cetera. So because there's so many SEC teams, and I did the same thing, I'm not getting on to you, Joey, but because there's so many SEC teams in the South, you think, my gosh, that conference would absolutely steamroll. Not really. Not really, because the North has a lot of strong teams from the Big Ten and a couple of really strong teams from the Pac-12, a couple from the Big 12. They're solid. Now, the Central, a little weak. But I think the North and the South, pretty equal.
Pretty
And
comparable,
I think the South is just like the SEC, top heavy. But the rest, not that great.
Yeah, but I look at your South picks and I say, well, there's a lot of potential there because you've got Texas in there, and you know that they got some of the best talent. Texas A&M, they have some of the best talent. So and Baylor is a pretty good team most years. So you've got a lot of potential there that maybe teams aren't ranked right now, but I don't know.
Well, you can say the same thing for the North though. Wisconsin, Michigan State, Iowa, Notre Dame, maybe even West Virginia from time to time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But that's it. That Central one, that Central conference, that's pretty weak though. But
yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's pretty weak. I was thinking when you were saying Central, I figured you would take like from West Virginia, the top of West Virginia, down to maybe South Carolina, or not South Carolina, but North Carolina.
Well, I didn't know until I came out with this. It's really tough when you start really, really south and really, really north. That's easy, but once you start coming together, that's when it's really tough to decide: do they belong in the Central or do they go up here? Or same with the bottom. You got to determine the borders for the bottom of the Central and the top of the Central. That's the toughest part. But
I've
it
always
worked out
said
better than
just
what I
draw.
thought it would.
I've always said just draw a giant plus sign right square across the middle of the United States and divide the conferences up.
No,
Have
wouldn't
4
work out like that because the
conferences
bottom
and be
right
done.
corner of
It'd be
that
too
plus
easy.
sign would be dominating.
Oh yeah, it would be. But that bottom right corner is dominating right now because that's the SEC. There's a few ACC schools in there, but
Right.
that bottom right corner is already dominating.
I got
And
you.
then even when you look at the ACC, that's the other dominating team is Clemson. So
That's true. I agree. Kadu, thank you for the $5 donation. Says, heard this morning that Fox and ESPN are pushing Big 12 and Pac-12 to merge. You hear anything on your end to confirm this? Yeah, I've heard that for like 3 weeks now. And it was actually, who was it that turned that down, Joey? Because we heard about that. Was it the Big 12 that turned it down, or was it the Pac-12?
I don't know. I mean, I heard the last thing I heard was the Big 12 was closing the door, and the Pac-12 wasn't budging. So but I don't know who did it first.
Yeah. I
they
honestly
should.
think it was the Pac-12 because they said some of their members said that if that happened, that they would go to the Big Ten. I think that's the rumor that what I is what I heard. All right, let's get to the games.
Okay.
There's not very many like huge games. There's only 3 ranked versus ranked. So I'm going to go conference by conference, the ones that I'm most interested in that could be good games, and not even talk about the crappy ones. Who cares about those, right? Let's start with the Pac-12. Not counting the ranked versus ranked, we have number 12, Oregon at Arizona. Doesn't sound like that great of a matchup, but the line right now is Oregon by 13. Can Arizona make it that close?
No, I don't think so. But
I mean, they just blew out Colorado, but who doesn't? Everybody blows out Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, but I would take. Yeah, I know that's just it. Colorado, you can't judge Arizona because of Colorado for sure. I think Oregon will blow Arizona away. They're just getting some home field advantage there. But
that's true. Yeah, and look, I think they're going to pack out that stadium for this game. It's going to be hostile for the first half, and Oregon will have to weather that storm. But Arizona isn't that good yet to where home field advantage puts them over the top. They need a huge push for them to beat Oregon, and I don't think they have that push just yet. I'm going to take Oregon, and I think they win by 2 touchdowns, which means they do cover. But that's still probably closer than what people were thinking. But I'll take Oregon by 2 touchdowns. The other game, I think this was going to be much better. I like Washington State at USC. The Cougars are 4-1. USC is 5-0. Again, USC only favored by 13 points.
Well, Washington State, they're pretty good at keeping games pretty close, even in a loss. So I think that they will keep this game close until probably midway to the fourth quarter, and I think probably that's what Vegas thinks too. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take them to cover. I'm gonna take Washington State to cover.
I got you. On a side note, Joe, do you happen to have the link to the StreamYard copy?
I do.
All right, can you put that in the chat? So what we're gonna do is we started a new schedule. We're not gonna do join-ins every live show, but every Tuesday, whenever I go live, like I said, I don't have set times. That's why I encourage notifications. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we'll let people join. And I forgot to ask Joey or put it in myself until just now. There's the link. We'll ask you to show your face real quick in the background, and then you can turn the camera off. If you don't like being on camera, we won't show you on camera if you're not okay with that. But if you want to call in. Basically, joining through StreamYard, there's a link right there. And you want to talk about, maybe I'm not talking about your team. You're like, hey, why are you not talking about my team? Hey, there's a way to get my attention right there. Also, the super chat option, the little dollar sign at the bottom right-hand corner, like Kadu just did. All right, enough with the Pac-12. Let's go to.
Well, what are you taking? You didn't never say what you was taking. USC or
I'm taking USC. I'm going to take USC by 20. If this was at Washington State, I would say it's a closer game and possibly an upset. But this is in the Coliseum, and it's going to be packed out. USC is relevant again, and I don't think it's gonna be close. And that's not saying that I don't think Washington State's a good team. I just think they're catching USC at a bad time in the Coliseum.
Yeah, you may be
All
right.
right, let's go over to the ACC. Not much going on over there. They have 0 ranked versus ranked. Possibly interesting. North Carolina at Miami. North Carolina's 4-1. Their only loss was to who was that to? I can't think of it now. Notre Dame. Their only loss was Notre Dame. There we go. And Miami's 2-2. They lost to A&M and then Middle Tennessee. However, Miami's favored by 4.
Well, I think
That's weird, ain't it?
That's weird. Yeah, Miami favored by 4. Now, can Miami find some offense?
Yeah,
that's what I got to look at. UNC.
Miami
Yeah,
showed some issues against Southern Miss, but I thought, maybe they had an off game. And then the Texas A&M game happened, which they really didn't have any issues on offense, except when they got into the red zone. They just could not get a touchdown. And then they let that Texas A&M game beat them again against Middle Tennessee. I think this bye week came at a perfect time, and I think the line reflects that.
I think it does too. And that's why it's a hard game to pick. I think I'd leave that game. What's the over/under on that game? Just out of curiosity, do you know?
That I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, I believe that'd be a game I'd leave alone. I don't think I'd touch that one.
And well, here's the thing: North Carolina's not good. Okay, don't let that 4-1 fool you. Number one, they got beat up pretty good by Notre Dame. Their lines of scrimmages are very small. Their offensive line and defensive line. You can push that line around. Just ask Appalachian State.
Yeah.
I mean, it was flat out ridiculous.
If we go back and look at the Appalachian State team and the way they were able to score on North Carolina in the fourth, kind of shows you North Carolina gets tired in the fourth. So maybe Miami can bust it out in the fourth quarter and beat them up pretty bad. So maybe I would go with Miami just for that reason.
I would take Miami too. I like it. Even though they're favored by a lot, sometimes this game can get freaky and interesting and too close, way too close than what it should be. Number 5, Clemson at Boston College. Of course, the Tigers undefeated. Boston College 2-3. Also on my worst 15 list this week, even though they dropped because they did beat Louisville. They did beat Louisville by 1 point. Clemson is favored by 20.5. I'm definitely going to take Clemson, but I'm going to take those 20.5 points because for whatever reason, Boston College always plays Clemson close, especially in Chestnut Hill.
Not this year. Boston College lost to a really bad Virginia Tech team. You got to remember that. I mean, Virginia Tech's pretty bad, and Boston College went in there and got their butt handed to them. And a game that I thought Boston College would win. I thought Boston College, Virginia Tech was coming off that loss to Old Dominion. They were deflated. So I just think Boston College is pretty bad. There's no way Boston College has a chance to cover in this game, stay close in this game at all.
Well, I disagree. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, and it's going to be a yawn fest. It's going to be boring. They have no atmosphere up there, and they actually use it to their advantage. They kind of lull their opponents to sleep, and next thing you know, you're waking up from your nap, and you're either up or down by only 3 points with about 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you got to finish a snooze fest. I think Clemson wins comfortably, but, even if they win by 20, that's still not covering. And I think it's going to be something like that. I think Clemson wins by 17 or 20 points. They don't cover. And it's a little bit closer than what people were thinking it was going to be. Finally, the last game in the ACC I want to talk about is Florida State at number 14, NC State. Both of these teams 4-1. Both of these teams coming off a loss. Florida State at home to Wake Forest and NC State on the road to Clemson. NC State is a 3.5-point favorite. Who has the edge?
Well, I called that Florida State game last week, if you remember. I said Wake Forest. That was my upset lock of the week.
Right.
And NC State be a favorite over Florida State by 4. I'm going to call this my upset lock of the week right here and say Florida State's going to win that game.
I like it. I don't know. I didn't like what I saw with Florida State last week. I do think this matchup favors Florida State a little bit better because NC State does not have a good defense or a good offense at all. They have a really good defense, not a great offense. They looked okay, but not great against Clemson in that loss. I'm gonna take NC State, but I think they win by like a field goal. So I would actually still take the points because that's not covering. But I think NC State with the home field advantage will get the upset here. Let's jump over to the Big Ten.
Florida State.
You went on the money line with that? Hey, you could win some money off that. On over to the Big Ten, Iowa, Illinois. I just mentioned this because of the line. Iowa's 3-2, Illinois 4-1. I think Illinois wins this game and they go to 5-1 and possibly get ranked.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree 100%.
I think if they can score two touchdowns, I mean, it is at Illinois. If they score 2 touchdowns, that's ball game, and I think they do.
Yeah, you better believe it. If they score 10 points, it might be ball game. Although Iowa did manage 14 points last week, so
right. Can Purdue do it again? They went on the road last week and beat number 21 Minnesota. This week they're on the road to a team that's on the verge of being ranked in Maryland. Maryland's a 3-point favorite. Can they go on the road and beat the favorite again?
No. Maryland's got too much offense. Maryland's too good. I think Maryland wins this game.
I agree. I have Illinois and Maryland winning, and I think both have the potential of getting ranked. I give the slight edge to Maryland, depending on what happens above them. And finally, this is supposed to be a big game, but because of how bad Michigan State is, it's not a big game. Number 3, Ohio State at Michigan State. But they're giving Ohio State 26.5 points. I don't know about that.
Michigan State's lost by over 20 a couple of times this year, haven't they? They lost to they've lost a couple of times by over 20. I'm going to take that. I'll take Ohio State. I think Ohio State's the best team in the country. I really do. So I would take Ohio State to cover that.
I do too, and I do think Ohio State had a bad game against Notre Dame, but since then they've had pretty good games. So I think Ohio State's due for a letdown game. I'm still taking Ohio State, but I think they win by 3 touchdowns, and that's still a large margin, but that doesn't cover the spread. I just don't see how they go into East Lansing and do that. I mean, Michigan State's going to get up for this game for sure, 100%. The house is going to be packed. It's going to be exciting for a while, but Ohio State will win this game comfortably. I'm just saying they're going to get Michigan State's best effort all year. This is probably going to be the biggest game for Michigan State, especially at home, that they're playing all year. And that's the only reason why I don't have Ohio State covering.
Right, but Ohio State's not going to go in there looking down on Michigan State either. They know that.
I don't know about that. I think they will. I think that's part of the recipe. And I'm not saying that that's going to cost them the game. I think they'll win, but I think this is going to be looked at like a tune-up game. They see how bad Michigan State is. I'm not going to say they're not. It's not like they're not going to take them serious, but I don't think you're going to see Ohio State's A game against Michigan State. I really don't.
Yeah, I just I think that Michigan State is going to play their best game, like you say, but their best game, I don't think keeps it within 30 points.
That's fair. All right. Next, the Big 12, the Red River shootout between Texas and Oklahoma.
Two luster this year.
2 3-2 teams. They're not ranked. Texas is favored by 7. This is the who cares shootout this year. Who you got?
I got Texas. But if they come out and play as good as they played last week against West Virginia, there's no doubt in my mind. Now, West Virginia was able to hold them to 102 rushing yards, but they've been holding everybody in rushing. Everybody's been under
Texas,
100 yards.
That's where you're wrong, Joey. That's where you're wrong. Texas didn't play great against West Virginia. West Virginia played bad against Texas.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Especially in the first half. But once we decided to start actually playing in the second half, we beat them in the second half 13-10, but it was too late by then. And, it was unfortunate that C.J. Donaldson had to go down with an injury at that expense, but that's what happened. And so you're gonna see a bad Oklahoma and a Texas team that, yes, can capitalize on mistakes, but can they create their own plays without the benefit of somebody else messing up? However, Oklahoma might be worse than West Virginia, so they might commit just as many, if not more, mistakes than West Virginia. So there's that as well.
I got a Texas message
everything
after that
said. I'm
Oklahoma
taking
game.
Texas by 20 points. Texas by 20
I
points.
got a text message from somebody right after that Oklahoma game and asked me, they said, is Oklahoma the worst team in the Big 12? And I said, probably not. Probably West Virginia is, but Oklahoma's right there with them. I think
Right.
Texas wins this game this year, and I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout because it's a rivalry. There's no way to be a blowout. But Oklahoma, if they come in and play Oklahoma football, like we know they're capable of playing, like they've got the talent to do it, this game could be really close. But Texas has just got too much. So
Right.
I think Texas wins this
Joshua
game.
Harrelson asked me if I have a Clemson mini helmet. It's funny that you should ask that because me and my wife were talking about that earlier. She's like, I can't believe you don't have a Clemson mini helmet. I'm like, I know, right? He's like, she was like, we live like 10 minutes from Clemson. You have a lot of Clemson subscribers. That one baffles me. I'm like, strange things happen. I mean, I'm a West Virginia fan, and it took a couple weeks for me to get a West Virginia mini helmet. So does it surprise me all that much? Not really. And that's not talking smack. That's not looking down. That's not talking trash. It's just how it goes sometimes. Short answer, no, I do not have a Clemson mini helmet. Anybody that would like to send one, there's the address on the screen. P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657. Next Saturday, me and my dad are going to build the shelves. And a quick change of plans. So as you can see, I'm running out of space for all the other stuff. And so the idea is to
Well, that's where you're
use
doing your helmet.
as much as less wall space as possible for the shelving. So I have room for all this stuff. So what we're going to do, let me give y'all a tour real quick. Hold on. So I'm going to take the camera down. Trying to keep it steady. I'm trying. So there's my wall, right? So today, I actually cleared out the wall on the other side over there. There's the bathroom. And what we're going to do is we'll probably shoot like this, except a lot farther back. So we'll get this wall and that wall full of stuff. And then the shelves. Put y'all back up there. And then the shelves, they're still going to come out of the wall. But instead of coming out at a V, we're just going to have one angle. So like 4 shelves angled out, but instead of a V, it's just going to be one angle because we're going to do depth that way. Bottom line is I don't need a bigger room. I just needed more wall, and we figured it out. Why is the camera out of focus now? That annoys me. Is that good? Am I in focus now? Yeah. Much better. It's a little low, but it's in focus.
Decided not to use those closets?
No, we're still going to use the closets, but the thing is, my wife still uses that right one, so with the V, it might block that as well. So more wall space. It still comes out and gives us depth. I just think that's the best idea, and it's easier to put up. So.
I like what you're doing your helmet. So, like, you got the Miami, North Carolina helmet right there facing off with each other and stuff. And
yeah, I got the Kansas State, Oklahoma State as well. Like any matchups that I do have, I got Kansas, TCU back there as well. So the more helmets that we get, the more matchups that I can line up like that.
The only problem I see is that powder blue helmet right there in the front. I hate that daggone North Carolina Tar Heel blue.
Yep. Somebody in the comments said they were going to send a New Mexico State as a troll, and somebody beat it. However, I will say the stripe right here is really cool. Look, you got the pistols right there. I thought that was pretty cool. Whether it's a troll or not, it still helps with the background, and whatever you send is a part of the background forever. That was the idea whenever I came up with that. Anything sent stays in the background forever, so you're basically a part of the show, not just when you watch, but you see the stuff that you send forever. So, I might end up having an entire she shed like Lou had there for a while and have to do walls like that. We'll see. Anyways, all right. So let's get back to the Big 12. Texas Tech at number 7, Oklahoma State. Texas Tech, I think they're an underrated 3-2, but it is at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's 4-0, and they're favored by 9.5.
I'm gonna take Oklahoma State. I think I think Texas Tech's a pretty good team. Yes, they were able to knock off Texas and things, but I just think Oklahoma State looks way too good this year. I mean, they look. I thought they was going to take a step back this year. I thought they was going to take a pretty good
I did
step
too.
back, and
Well,
it looks like they
to
might
be
be better
fair, the
than last
defense has taken a step back, but the offense has taken such a step forward that it doesn't matter.
Right. Yep.
So they're not having to hold people to
them.
under 20 points to win a football game. They're scoring, 30, 40 points, and that's good enough with a good defense, just not elite like it was last year. I do think Oklahoma State is due for a down game. I just don't think this is it. I think Oklahoma State goes and beats Texas Tech at home, stays undefeated, and keeps on a trucking. The last game before we get to, we'll get to the rank versus rank here in just a minute. The last game in the Big 12, I got number 20 Kansas State on the road to Iowa State. Kansas State, a 2-point favorite. This is a dangerous game for Kansas State.
It is. It's a dangerous game for anybody that goes into Ames, Iowa. It really is. That's a tough place to play.
Hey, hold on. Somebody said no longer display the Oklahoma banner. Well, that's what I was explaining earlier. It was hung over the closet that she has to use for her work clothes. So I took it down until we can get that other thing figured out, and I'll display it over there. So there was no particular reason related to football why I took that Oklahoma banner down. It was because of function, actually. Anyway, sorry about that. Kansas State at Iowa State.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play, but I don't know. Kansas State just looks really good this year. I'm not saying that they're a great team by far, but I think they're a lot better than Iowa State is this year. Iowa State seems to be down a little bit. And I just don't think, even with the atmosphere at Ames, I just think Kansas State wins this game.
I actually disagree with that. I don't think Adrian Martinez is a very good quarterback. He's a good runner. He's a really good runner, and they've figured out a perfect offense for him. They don't make him run the ball that much. He runs and Deuce Vaughn runs. That's basically their offense. But this is in Ames, Iowa. And Iowa State can upset, these lower-ranked teams that are supposed to be better than them. And Iowa State is not a bad team. And you look at Kansas State, their best wins at Oklahoma. Well, we know that Oklahoma is trash. And then this last week, they beat Texas Tech at home. That's not really saying much. I think they go on the road and they pick up a loss at Iowa State. It's going to be a close game, but I think the atmosphere is too big, and I think Iowa State is too good of a team for a good Kansas State, but not elite Kansas State to go on the road and beat. I like Iowa State in that game. Finally, the SEC. Then we'll get to our 3 ranked games. SEC, Arkansas at Mississippi State. Arkansas is now 3-2. Mississippi State 4-1. Mississippi State favored by 8. I just feel bad for Arkansas because they shot themselves in the foot against Texas A&M. And then the very next game, they have to play Alabama at home, which they came roaring back on Alabama. But Alabama does what Alabama does. They're mentally tough, and they won the football game. Does Arkansas have enough to go on the road and beat a good Mississippi State, but not great on the road?
No, I don't think they do. But here's the thing: that line sounds mighty big to me. I think they'll cover. Give me Arkansas to cover, but I think Mississippi wins the game. Mississippi State wins the game.
I like Mississippi State by a touchdown, which does not cover. I agree with you. Auburn, terrible Auburn, 3-2 at number 2 Georgia, 5-0. Georgia has not looked good past 2 games. Kent State, they beat them 39-22. On the road to Missouri, beat them 26-22. Can Auburn do the unthinkable? I don't think so, but 30 points. I mean, Georgia's had trouble to even score 30 points the past 2 games, much less beat somebody by 30 points.
I would think no, they can't cover the 30. Can I see them beating them by 21? Yes. Can I see them beating them by 24? Yes. I don't see 30.
It's a lot of points, ain't it?
I'll take Auburn to cover, but they don't have a chance to win this game.
Right. I'll take Auburn and the points. But I think Georgia wins by 20 plus, just not 30. That's a lot of points, especially what we've seen the past 2 weeks. South Carolina fans are confident in this game. The Gamecocks on the road to number 13 Kentucky, who's 4-1, should be 5-0, but Will Lewis fumbled the game away last week.
Yeah.
10.5 points, surprisingly low, and Gamecocks are taking their own team on the money line. What do you think?
I think Kentucky wins this game pretty easy. I think they're probably pretty mad after last week. I'm going to take Kentucky to win big.
That's what my gut. Well, that's what common sense tells me, but for some reason, my gut's telling me that Kentucky's not going to cover, and that there's a small chance that South Carolina could pull the upset. I looked at South Carolina's stats. They actually have really good offensive stats. Spencer Rattler hasn't played good, but they find a way to score points. I mean, I think they're 33rd or 34th in the nation in points per game. That's not bad. So I think they'll be able to keep this a close game, but I just can't pull myself to do it to pick South Carolina outright. I'll take South Carolina or Kentucky to not cover. I'll take South Carolina the points, but I think Kentucky still wins. And it'll probably look like a type of game where it's a close score, but the game was never in doubt type of thing. Maybe they win by 10 and not cover by half a point. And then finally, this was supposed to be the game of the year. Even CBS gobbled this up for their prime time of the year. They only get one primetime game, and this is the game that they picked before the season started. Texas A&M, the Fighting Jimbo Fishers, at number 1 Alabama. Alabama is favored by 24.5 points.
How much were they favored by last year? Do you remember?
I do not remember. It was a significant margin, but it was a road game. And I did predict that all year long.
Yeah, you did. And I don't know. I mean, for some reason, my gut's telling me that to take Texas A&M in the points. They don't think they'll win the game, but to take Texas A&M in the points in this, because I just feel like Jimbo's going to keep it closer than you might think. Although Alabama is so good. I mean,
yeah.
And Texas A&M
I'm on the
looks so bad.
I'm on the opposite side of the fence. I think Nick Saban, if he gets a chance to run up the score, he's gonna. He don't like what Jimbo said. There's bad blood. What's the money line for a punch being thrown? I don't know, but you better believe Nick Saban's going to run up the score. I think Alabama wins. I think they cover easily, and Nick Saban is going to be smirking after the game, and he might even give Jimbo the finger after the game. That wouldn't surprise me either. I do have one question. Can you answer this for me? Why is Colby so worried about my trophy? He keeps.
I don't know.
Yeah, he keeps bringing up the fact that it's not engraved, which it's not. That's true. It's tough to find the time to do, extra stuff like that. But I plan on doing it on Friday this week because I have a very wide open day that day. But I'm just wondering why he's so worried about my trophy.
I don't know. Maybe he don't have 4 kids that go to school and they're all different ages and going to different schools and got to be taken to school and dropped off and then picked up, and you got to make videos and go live, and maybe he don't have to do all that.
You might be right.
So he's thinking that you have.
I didn't think about that. I'll give him a pass. He didn't know that. I'll give him a pass. All right, ranked versus ranked. First, I'm going to try to go from least important to most important. So first, we'll go with number 8 Tennessee at number 25 LSU. Tennessee is favored by 3. I think both of these teams are overrated, but I'm going to take LSU in Death Valley. I know this is not a night game. I don't know if I don't know if that matters or anything, but I think LSU in Death Valley. They just got ranked a come from behind win over Auburn on the road. I think Tennessee picks up their first loss.
You said something there, though. A come from behind win over Auburn. And
right.
Auburn's not a very good team.
Right.
So I think Tennessee's going to have way too much offense for LSU to handle. I just feel like that. I think Tennessee will win this game. And
Yeah, but then you got to think
now, what
about
was the line
what
on the
they
game?
did against Florida. You got to remember what they did against Florida. Tennessee had multiple opportunities to put that game away and go up by 3 scores, and they couldn't do it. And Florida still had a chance there at the end. This is not in Rocky Top. This is in Death Valley. The
Right.
line is Tennessee
What's the
favored
line on
by
the game
3.
though?
3.
By 3. So
Tennessee
see,
favored
I
by
think
3.
Tennessee will cover that. I think Tennessee will cover the 3. I do.
Well, I'm going to take LSU in the upset. I'd probably take LSU on the money line, actually. I just don't think Tennessee – I think they're a good team, but I don't think they're good enough to go on the road and beat a good team on the road. They're not there yet. That's just my opinion. Next game, then we'll get to the last game and let y'all get out of here. I know we've been holding y'all hostage for way too long. Number 11, Utah at number 18, UCLA. Utah favored by 4.5. And I've gotten laughed at, ridiculed, the whole 9 yards for having UCLA ranked this entire time. They finally beat a ranked team, undefeated, and now they're the number 18 team in the nation. Do they let me down this week?
In the sense of letting you down, I don't think they win the game, but I don't think they let you down. I think it's going to be a really close game. And you said the line is 4. Is that what you said?
4.5.
4.5. So I would say that I'm going to take Utah to win the game, but I don't think they cover. I think they'll win it by like 3.
That's fair. You know, I think UCLA is a solid 8-4 team. That's why I've had them ranked the entire time. Plus, they haven't lost a game. I mean, you have to reward that, right? But Utah is a really good team. This is not the swamp. This is not SEC environment. This is not only is it a Pac-12 environment, but it's probably one of the weakest Pac-12 environments in UCLA. I think Utah wins this fairly easily, to be honest with you. Having said that, I thought Washington would beat UCLA fairly easily. So I really don't know, but I'm going to say with zero confidence, Utah covers. I think Utah wins by 10, but I'm not convinced. I really have no idea. It could go either way. Finally, everybody thinks this is the game of the week, not just me. Everybody. This is absolutely nuts, Joey. Absolutely nuts. What is going on? We are in the twilight zone. Undefeated versus undefeated. Number 17, TCU at number 19, Kansas in Lawrence. Game day, gonna be there. TCU favored by 7. What parallel universe are we living in, Joey?
I know it. That's unreal. But yeah, unfortunately, I think this is the week that Kansas is going to go down. I wouldn't have said that 2 weeks ago. I really wouldn't have. But I just think that Kansas goes down this week. Now, I don't know about that 7-point spread. I don't know about that. But
Right.
I'm going to say TCU beats them. But I think I'd take Kansas in the points. But
Right.
I think TCU is going to win the game.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why I actually disagree with you, Joey. I think Kansas played their worst game of the year last week, and they still won. And I think TCU played the best game of the year that they played so far, and they blew out Oklahoma. Hold on one second here. We pretty much know the history of Kansas because everybody's been keeping up with them. So I really don't want to look into them as much. But I want to look into TCU real quick before we get out of here. Let's see. TCU. Here we go. TCU. All right. What do we know about TCU? Well, they're undefeated. They just blew out Oklahoma, right? They're 4-0. What else have they done? They went out and they went on the road and beat Colorado 38-13. So that was Colorado's second closest game of the year. The first closest was last week against Arizona. They got beat by 23. So second closest. Next game, they beat FCS Tarleton 59-17. They gave up 17 points against, I think it's a 3A team. Not just the next division, but the division under that, which I have a Tarleton pennant now. How about that? Then after that, on the road to SMU, and they actually struggled a little bit, 42-34. And SMU is let's see, SMU is 2-2. They're not a very good football team. They lost at Maryland and to TCU at home. I don't think they're all that great. I don't think TCU is as good as people think they are. I think that blowout win over Oklahoma has everybody thinking that they're this great team. The week before, Kansas State went on the road, and they should have blown out Oklahoma. Go back and watch the game. Kansas State should have blown out Oklahoma, but they allowed Oklahoma to come back and score some unanswered points. They still won the game, but Oklahoma is not a good – the point of that is Oklahoma is not a good team at all. And I just think that TCU blowing them out has a lot of people thinking that TCU is better than what they are. TCU had their best game of the year last week. Yes, they blew out Oklahoma. Kansas faced adversity last week, played their worst game of the week of the year, still won. And they did struggle against Duke the week before, but I think Duke's better than people realize. I'm taking the Jayhawks. I think Kansas stays undefeated. This is a home game. I don't think that Kansas goes undefeated the entire year. I think they finish either 8-4 or 7-5. But for one more week, mighty Kansas stays undefeated, and they become bowl eligible in their first 6 games by staying undefeated. And
I hope you're right.
I really win over a number 17 team, TCU. Kansas is ranked number 19. How high, if they do win, how high does Kansas get vaulted at 6-0?
Oh, they'll be vaulted up there. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt about it. They're going to be in the 10, around 9 or 10. Yeah, there's no doubt if they can beat TCU. Now, it's a home game for them. They're going to have home field advantage. They've got a crowd. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but
it's sold out.
They're selling out their stadium. I mean, people are coming out to watch Kansas football. Kansas is a great Cinderella story this year. I just think that Cinderella's going to lose her slipper this weekend. Sorry about that.
I don't think I don't think TCU is the team to do it. Kansas will lose their slipper. I just don't think TCU is the team to do it. I'm going to take Kansas. I think they stay on. Hold on. Before we get out of here, let me look. Who do they have after that? That would be the only issue or worry. No, Kansas is not going to look past this game. No, they're not used to winning anyway, so they're taking this game by game. But I'm trying to look down the road after TCU at Oklahoma.
Yeah, I said they could go into Oklahoma 6-0. Matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, if you remember, I said they will go into Oklahoma 6-0. I was predicting Kansas to win this game, but it looks like Kansas is getting tired. I think they've got a couple of injuries, and of course, everybody's got injuries this time of year. I'm sure TCU's got plenty themselves. So, but I just think TCU is just going to be they've been there. They've been there before. They've been in the big environments and stuff. It's not going to affect them at all. I think TCU is going to win this game, and I hate saying that because I'm really rooting for Kansas.
I got you. I got Kansas beating TCU, and I have Kansas going on the road and beating Oklahoma. They're terrible, but I do think Baylor is the team that takes off the slipper because the game after Oklahoma is Baylor on the road. So I think they lose then. They'll get a bye week, and then they get Oklahoma State at home. I think they lose that game. And then after that, at Texas Tech. So I think Kansas loses 3 games in a row after going 7-0. But then they beat Texas. So that's 8-3 and lose at Kansas State. So that's 8-4. I have them going on a three-game losing streak after they start 7-0. But this week, they stay undefeated. And I think they jump probably to number 13, maybe number 12 at the highest. I don't think the polls respect Kansas enough to put them in the top 10 just yet, especially considering who's above them. I say 13 or number 12, but still, that's going to be really, really weird seeing them at number 12. And then when they go on the road to beat Oklahoma, then you might see a number 10 or a single digit beside the Kansas logo in football, not in basketball, in football.
Yeah. You've seen it in basketball, but man, I tell you what. Yeah, how the world has changed in college football.
Really has. All right, buddy. I'm going to let you get your last word in, and then we'll head out of here.
I don't really have a last word. I would like to see everyone go over on Patreon page. If you haven't watched the video yet, I did a Patreon show on Sunday. You have Paul Catalina, Mark Rogers on there, and we talked some college football. Pretty good stuff. Go over there and watch that video. If you're not a Patreon member, you can join for as little as $2. I try to get some special guests on there for the Patreon shows. So come over and join us on Sundays for the Patreon shows from like 4 to 5. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer. This past week we went for an hour and a half. It was a great show.
Absolutely.
So
I like
anyway,
it.
thanks guys. Thanks, Jimmy D. We'll see you later, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good one, man. Well, we're going to wrap it up, guys. But as usual, I appreciate everybody that stopped by. There would be no Golden Bluted without people like you watching, everybody that commented, everybody that hit the like button. Hey, on the way out, hit the like button. Even though we're not going to be live anymore, it still helps with views and the algorithm and all that stuff. And there's the address right there. So you know what? Hold on. Let's go down the list just in case you're wondering if I have your team. Here we go. These are the teams that we have for a mini helmet. Now, Houston, I actually need another mini helmet because that was signed, and I am not taking that one out of the case. And I like the country roads, but I already have a West Virginia one. So Houston, we still need. But the teams that we have mini helmets are Florida State, BYU, Air Force, Ohio State, Virginia Tech, Miami Hurricanes, Michigan, Utah State, North Carolina, Oklahoma State, TCU, Kansas, Kansas State, Syracuse, West Virginia, Alabama, Arkansas, LSU, Navy, Oklahoma, Baylor, New Mexico State, UTEP. Let's see. We got Arizona State, Marshall, FIU, Glenville State, and we actually have another Ohio State mini helmet. So it does happen, and that's fine. I will still display it. You can send another mini helmet of a team that I already have. You want to represent yourself, and you don't want to send any other team. That's fine. No problem. We already have 2 Ohio State mini helmets. But no, we do not have any Clemson mini helmets. No Texas mini helmets. No Washington mini helmets. No Oregon mini helmets. USC. We don't have a USC mini helmet. Nebraska, Tennessee, Florida. There's a lot of big brands out there that we don't have. So Jeffrey Foster, thank you for the donation, says Kansas versus Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. I would love that. That would be absolutely awesome. But I'm going to go Oklahoma State for sure. And then either TCU or Kansas State. Whoever wins between those 2 teams, that's who I have in the Big 12 championship. It's going to be either TCU or Oklahoma State. I do think TCU is good. But I think they have some learning to do. So I think they lose at Kansas, and I think they'll lose to Oklahoma State, but they'll beat Oklahoma. They'll beat Texas. They'll beat West Virginia. They'll beat Baylor. They'll beat Iowa State. Not sure about Kansas State. So it'll come down to those 3 games, 3 teams. And what was my prediction at the beginning of the year? I said my sleeper pick for the Big 12 championship is Kansas State. That's still in play. It's looking pretty good. So we'll see how they do to finish the rest of the year. Let me put that on one more time just in case people think. There you go. P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657. And it doesn't have to be mini helmets. The pinwheel of pennants is almost complete. I think it's either 2 or 3, and it'll be completed. Just to be safe, I think there's 3 more. We got a Kansas State one that you can't quite see, but whenever the shelving gets done, you'll be able to see all of it. And because I'm using that wall and I'll be using the other wall, we'll start another pinwheel of pennants. And we might have to stack them. I don't know how many pinwheel of pennants we're going to have to do. Just depends on how many get sent. Because, I mean, we don't plan on quitting this show anytime soon. So, we might have to build extra walls in here. I don't know. We will cross that bridge whenever we get to it. So, yeah. Anyways. We're out of here, guys, but appreciate y'all stopping by. Hit the like button on the way out. Still helps the video, and we're going to see you again tomorrow. I just don't know what time because, real life happens, and I just try to fit these in whenever I can. So it's very, very important to have the notifications run. And if you're not a subscriber of Golden Blue Dude, Well, for one thing, if you're not a college football fan, then don't worry about it. You're not going to like the channel. But if you are a college football fan, that's all we do here every single day. Live shows every single day, pre-recorded videos every single day. So you'll find something that you like. You might find a lot that you don't like, but hey, you win some and you lose some. So that's it for tonight. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, and we will see you tomorrow. We just don't know what time.